Hey, welcome back to Mental Health Happy Hour Live. I'm going to learn how to talk. But Jason, why don't you go ahead and start while I learn how to talk?
Welcome to the Mental Health Happy Hour. I am Jason, the bipolar DM, along with J.R. Reed, not weird, just autistic. We have some great guests that we have coming on today. We're going to be talking about the link between mental health and fitness and how one goes with the other. And so, really excited about our guests. They have a podcast that they have been discussing this issue with. And let's go ahead and if we have any other introductions, let's go ahead and bring them on.
No, Jeremy, Zach, how you guys doing?
Good. Thanks so much for having us.
Oh, thank you. So, Jeremy, you and I were talking a little bit on Facebook and Messenger starting a few weeks ago. So Why don't you tell us a little bit about what the Fitmess, not Fitness, M with an mess with an M podcast is all about?
It basically started as a place for Zach and I to sort of go public with the conversations we were having privately. We both, were new dads and sort of struggling to overcome some physical and mental health challenges and finding some comfort in each other and talking to each other about those issues. And, I'd been podcasting for the better part of a decade and a half or so. And Zach came to me and said, "Hey, why don't we turn these conversations into a podcast so that other people can get the benefits that we're getting from them?" Because we were seeing a lot of growth. We were trying to lose some weight. We were just trying to get some mental health stuff in order. And the tips that we were kind of offering back and forth, mostly from Zach to me, were working out really well. And so I just thought, well, if Zach's got this great advice that's working for me, then we got to put this out there. So that was sort of the genesis of it.
All right, Zach, what's your version?
Yeah, Jeremy was very hesitant on it. Yes. I've never done podcasting, so the whole talking into a microphone and really just putting ourselves out there was the new part for me. But I was having these types of conversations with Jeremy and with other people, and I spent way too many years trying to fix myself with things that some worked, some didn't work. So I just have all of this knowledge and experience that, in having conversations with Jeremy, I was like, oh, wow, some of these things are working for him that didn't work for me, or things that worked for me are working for him. So it really just opened my eyes up to, like he said, more people need to hear about this. We need to normalize two guys talking about our feelings, talking about our emotions, and getting in touch with ourselves. And again, Jeremy was pretty hesitant to do it because it really was putting ourselves out there, talking about things that guys don't talk about really even in private, let alone on a podcast. So finally he came around to it and he showed me the way of podcasting. And if you listen to our first couple of episodes there, I think he took all my ums out, but it was a rough start, but we've been going strong since.
It was a 3-hour show that we narrowed down to 30 minutes once I got the ums out.
Yep. Wow. Wow. It sounds like me some days.
So what is your all's what is all your background that you bring to the table? What is it that you actually do in your professional lives?
Good question. I try and reinvent myself every few years, but so I work. I've historically worked in information technology, and today I work specifically in information technology and security. So I get to think like bad people as much as I can, and then put things in place to prevent bad people from doing bad things to corporate assets, which is actually kind of fun. And it translates into the podcast because I can think about all the bad things that I can do to my body and, mentally and physically, and then think about what I could put in place to make the bad things not happen. So that's kind of my background, my history, my professional life.
And I've spent the last 20 years in commercial radio. I worked for major market stations in Seattle, producing and editing and writing news stories. And it's funny, there's some similarities, I think, in the way that I approach the job, because I hate the news. I never liked the news. It was something that like I kind of wanted to work on the radio, but I didn't really have a way. Complicated, boring story. I ended up in a newsroom, and it turned out I was good at it. But the role that I sort of developed for myself was sort of a gatekeeper. Like I know how toxic the news is. I hate it, and I don't watch it for that reason. I don't listen to it for that reason. but I also know that there is some good information that needs to be out there. So I saw myself as a gatekeeper to prevent house fires, car crashes, all the garbage that fills your head for no reason. Knowing that some house caught on fire 80 miles away makes no difference to your life, but knowing, the policies that are in place that might help that house from burning down next time, that's the kind of stuff that I would try to allow through to get onto the air, and really hold back the, like, guys, nobody cares that car crashed into that pole 6 hours ago. We don't need to keep talking about these things that don't affect people's lives.
Right.
So that was really how I spent most of my professional career. I actually just walked away from the news radio business just a couple of months ago to throw myself into podcasting full time. And this, our show is a big part of that. I'm also producing and editing a bunch of other shows. Most of them are sort of in the health and wellness and alternative health space. Just, again, trying to use my skills in a way that can be beneficial to people instead of terrifying them and scaring them about all the horrible things that are happening in the world.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good to get medical perspectives from doctors, from nutritionists, from physical therapists, people like that. But really, I think, to me, the most beneficial stuff is listening to like what you guys do and what we do. Listening to real life stories and experiences of just a couple of guys that are dealing with things.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I've been surprised over the years how many things. We joke about it. About every 3 or 4 episodes, I'll have to open up something with, Zach, when you told me about this 2 years ago, I laughed in your face and thought it was woo-woo and stupid. And now I'm doing it and my life has changed at 180 degrees for the better. So, I mean, it is. You have to sort of open your mind to things that you would otherwise not be open to really grow. You have to get out of that comfort zone and really try different things. But of course, I don't want to come on and say, hey, don't listen to medical professionals, because they have a lot more education and know way more than I do. So please listen to, the CDC and the World Health Organization when it comes to major health issues.
Right. But again, they're not looking at it and applying it like you guys are from an everyday real life standpoint. They're telling you this is what the technical terms are and what the abilities or capabilities or downfalls of something are. But you're talking about, hey, this is what we do and this is how it's worked for us.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And that's in my experience, I think in anything that you do, if you truly understand what the other person is going through, if you can have that empathy for them, the relationship, the communication, and helping them, and everyone helping themselves can go so much further. I remember having a conversation with one of my doctors. We were discussing depression and medications and things like that. And just jokingly, I was like, well, so you take this too, right? And she was like, oh, no. I don't take any antidepressants. I don't have any issues with that. So it was kind of eye-opening in that moment of like, well, why am I taking some of the advice from you? Like, I need to talk to other people who have been through this.
Yeah.
Right. Well, like we were telling Jeremy before the show, Jason's doing his own bipolar podcast. I'm doing my own autism stuff. And, it's great to listen to what the research is, but they're not applying it on a real life basis.
Well, and it's also a numbers game, right? I mean, it's in general, when studied, these are the results, but there is still going to be that 5, 10, 20, whatever the study and the scenario is. But there are going to be people that those studies don't apply to. And that is when it is helpful to know from other people, hey, I tried that too. That also didn't work for me. But as it turns out, I tried this other thing and oh my God, it totally changed my life.
Yeah. So Zach, since you're apparently the person to listen to, I mean, that's what I got from Jeremy's statement is that, 2 years ago, Zach told me this.
Yep, pretty much.
Be careful with that.
So Zach, you're the guy to listen to. So how do mental health and physical health really work together? Because that's something people don't talk about a whole lot.
How do they work together? Yeah. I mean, for me,
how do they not work together?
Well, I think that they do work together. I know for me, if I'm not moving, if I'm not working out, if I'm not walking, if I'm not doing the things I need to do physically, my baseline is much lower than it needs to be. I can directly correlate my feelings of depression, my feelings of anxiety, my feelings of worthlessness to not moving. And just getting up and moving to me brings that baseline up to a manageable level. There's still a long way to go in all of those things. But moving for me is just the starting point. It gets you to a place where you can take the next step and the next step. And on top of it, you know, you live longer, healthier.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, they're directly correlated in my mind.
Yeah.
So what are some of the pitfalls of not moving so that you have found?
Jeremy, do you want to try that one?
That ties in exactly to my connection with physical movement and mental health. You know, even today, I was driving. I had to run some errands. I was driving around, realizing I haven't really done much physically in the last couple of days, and I can feel it. I start getting squirrely, and I start hearing these messages of like, you know, go for a longer walk today, go for a run, maybe go try that gym down the street, you know, drop the kayak in the lake, go do something and move. And that message will get louder and louder, and I will distract myself from it. Oh, but I've got so much to do. I've got these errands. I've got this thing with the kids. And I'll keep sort of ignoring it to the point where that voice gets loud enough and angry enough that it turns into depression. And it says, if you're not going to do what you need to take care of yourself, you're going to be shut down. We're going to have to reboot and start all over. And that is what happens to me. If I don't listen to that intuition and listen to those voices that tell me, take care of yourself, then the system clogs up, shuts down, and I'm depressed, and I don't want to leave a dark room for 3 or 4 days.
Right.
So that is key. And we were talking a little bit before the show about, you know, one of the things I live by is tired muscles, quiet, dark voices. And I don't have to go do an hour of CrossFit every day, but I need to walk a couple times a day, like good long walks. I need to go for runs. I need to physically move and break a sweat. Otherwise the machine shuts down and I have to start all over again and find ways to be more open to those voices next time when I'm in a healthier place.
Yeah. And, you know, Jason, you can put in your 2 cents after me, but I don't necessarily get the voices like you do, Jeremy, but I notice definitely if I haven't gone walking or done something in a couple of days, I definitely start to get those feelings of sliding back towards the anxiety, back towards the depression. So it's not the voice telling me, hey, you need to do this. It's, hey, I'm starting to feel this way. Oh yeah, I haven't been out doing this.
I think that I've been meditating for 8 or 9 years, and I think a lot of that comes from really being aware of that energy. Like I'll just feel that energy, and when I just get curious about what is that, what is that buzz that I'm feeling, what's that undercurrent of all of my thoughts, and when I just get quiet, even from it, like just driving, turn the radio off and just get quiet, I'll hear, you know, I'll see my kayak and go, oh, you just need to go paddle around a while. Or I'll see my shoes. Like there'll be some message that comes really clear. That's like, you just got to move and you're not doing it. This is your warning.
Yeah.
Jason? Yeah, one of the things I find in my own life is if I'm not getting outside, getting sunlight, getting exposure to other people, exercising, I get trapped in my own head and my own thought. Oh, yeah. And it becomes a vicious cycle, especially when you're indoors alone with nobody else to bounce ideas off, nobody to tell you, hey, what you're thinking, what you're doing is not quite right. Maybe you need to, you know, change that, you know. So, you know, so I do find myself when I don't exercise or don't get out that I do fall victim to the vicious cycle of negative thoughts and depression and isolation and any other destructive behavior that comes with it.
Yeah. What do you do when you get there? What happens when the depression takes over or you get into that dark place? How do you find your way out?
A lot of times I have to fight and crawl my way out just by sheer will sometimes. And other times I have to let it pass, you know, because it cycles and comes in waves. And so I sometimes have to wait, you know, like a surfer, wait for that wave to come, the perfect wave to come to carry me out of the deep end. Is a lot of times what I kind of analogize it to where if I don't get outside, if I don't take my service dog for a walk, if I don't go to the park or just get sunlight, you know, change my scenery, it really negatively impacts my mental health. You know?
Yeah, there's a comedian that I follow that I watched one of her bits recently, and she framed mental illness in a way that I'd never really thought of. Even though we talk about mental illness all the time, I didn't really think of it as an illness. I struggle with depression. I have my own stigmas around it and what I imagine somebody who's depressed has or whatever. And when she described it in this bit about how, you know, nobody sees, you know, Bob get the flu and then 6 months later go, oh, don't hang out with Bob. He got the flu 6 months ago. just the idea that if you think of it as an illness, and when you get sick, sometimes no matter how much water and vitamins and medicine you take, you just got to wait it out. And I had never thought of it that way, thinking of it in more of the sort of the traditional definition of an illness, that it's going to flare up. It's a chronic thing that I'm going to have to battle. It's going to flare up. And there are times when I'm just going to have to say, that's it. I got to rest and wait this one out.
Well, and there's you can go even further too, right? I mean, if you have the flu, right, all of those physical symptoms means your body is fighting off something that shouldn't be there, right? So be thankful that you feel that way, right? Because your body's doing its job. For me, my anxiety, the day that I learned to thank it for doing what it does and become friends with it and be a partner with it, it kind of changed my life to, instead of being, why am I so anxious? Why is this here? Please go away. Fighting it as hard as I could. The moment I accepted it as, this is me, this is who I am. Thank you for being really anxious. Thank you for telling me that a tiger is chasing me. Thank you for letting me know that I'm in mortal danger, but I really just have to take a left-hand turn out of this parking lot. That's all I'm here for. Yeah. And that was really helpful for me, in that sense of, just acknowledging it and being okay with it. Then you can set your goals and you can move forward. But where you are right now is okay. It's fine to be there. Where you are tomorrow is a different story. But
right. Oh, and even where you are at different points during the day could be very different too.
Yeah.
I mean, we all live in places where there gets to be extreme cold weather, and it can be down in the morning, down in the evening, but higher up in the middle of the day.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
And another thing, Jeremy, that I loved what you said, what the comedian said, too often I think people try to look at it not as mental illness, and they use the phrase mental health issues. Sounds better, but the analogy used of mental illness was perfect.
Yeah. And I mean, I've battled this my entire life, and I'd never considered it as an illness. It was more just this part of me that was broken, and thinking of it in that way, I'm able to be more gentle with it, with myself, and a little more kind, and realizing that, okay, you're just sick right now. That's okay. You need to take some time. And the other thing that's great about it, Zach talked about making relationship or making friends with his anxiety. I don't think I have the same affection for my depression, but what it does for me is it makes me be more aware and put up preventative measures to keep from going there. So it forces me to create healthy boundaries and forces me to be a little bit more accountable for myself when, if I don't do the things to take care of myself, I'm going to end up there. So suffering from this the way I do forces me to be a little bit more thoughtful and preventative in taking care of it, which in turn takes care of my body and hopefully will help me live a longer, healthier life.
Yeah. And just to build upon that, I do have to be very careful on who I allow into my life, the kind of people that I allow, the kind of music I listen to, the kind of TV shows and movies I watch, because those things all affect my mood. If I'm sitting there watching, depressing, killing movies and stuff like that, well, hell yeah, I'm going to get depressed and agitated and stuff like that. If I'm listening to death metal rock, it's going to bring my blood pressure up and my agitation. So I'm very careful about what I bring in, especially when it comes to toxic people, because I've been damaged so much by them that now I'm very guarded about who I allow into my life because of my illness.
Well, and that's tough too, right? Because you were talking about the isolation. So the more you sort of back away from toxic people, all of a sudden you start finding something toxic about everyone, because then it just becomes easier to just not engage and to not be social and not go out, especially in the age of COVID. Introverts like me have been thriving, just kind of like, I don't have to go to any more birthday parties. I don't have to go out and do things. It's going to be great. But then it goes completely the other way, where it gets a little too dark and a little too lonely. And then you've gone over the edge and you've got to fight your way back.
Yeah. And that's where you find that balance, that tightrope balance of who do you allow in? Because you can't keep everybody out, but you got to learn to say, well, this person, their toxic level is a 10. I can handle a 5, so I'm not letting this person in, but I will let this person into my life because I can handle what they dish out, So yeah, there is that balance you got to find, and it's like what you say about meditation and knowing yourself and being very introspective. Being able to do that, and that helps so much in your life. Too often we try to ignore the problem, ignore the issues, ignore the symptoms, thinking it'll go away, and most of the time it doesn't. It just gets worse.
Yeah, I try and make sure that I run into the same issue, because I will retreat into my own private space and not let anyone in. But I really, really focus on everyone has, something toxic about them, right? And you can't choose all the people that you're going to hang out with. You have to hang out with certain people. So I really look for people that inspire me, that are available to me. And I make sure that I try and hang out with, that person or that group of people on a daily basis. The inspiration level that some of these people that I've chosen to hang out with far outweighs any little bit of toxicity that they do have in their lives. So I would recommend find someone who's really inspiring to you and be that annoying guy who goes and hangs out with them as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what Jason is to me.
Yeah.
He's that annoying guy that I hang out with.
There you go.
Because he's so inspirational.
Yeah.
Well, when you find your people, you stick with them, right?
Hey, that's right.
Yeah, you stick with them and you take care of them and stuff like that. And you try to be a better version of yourself, around them too, which is what's great about, positive people that bring the best out of you, is because you want to be better. You don't want to be that a-hole that's nobody wants to be around. And so it's great being around people that are positive and stuff like that and having them in your life because they're so necessary.
Well, and it's interesting too, even just doing this show, we went into it really wanting to help other people. And one of the positive side effects that ended up happening for me was it became an accountability tool. I couldn't open this mic every week and go, what you ought to do to live a better life is, and then turn it off and then go eat a bag of Doritos and stuff my face with ice cream and lay on the couch for 4 days. I mean, it's not going to work. I mean, I suppose you can, and
you could
now and then, but
you probably should every now and then too.
But I think also just being around those people that inspire you tend to be doing inspiring things. And so those relationships are not only healthy, but they can open doors to interests and other ways to grow that maybe you wouldn't have considered before.
Yeah. And I've noticed that just from doing this, when I'm doing my autism work, it's inspiring in a little different way, but now you're talking to people with different mental health issues and how they've overcome things and how they get around things. And then what you guys are doing with fitness and mental health, it's really inspiring.
Oh, thanks.
And I will tell you what, Tuesday afternoons after I do the show are some of the better moments in my week.
Yeah. No, because you're fired up, right?
Rush.
Yeah.
Yep. Always with that. Whatever you just learned, you're like, oh, I never considered that. I'm going to go try it right now.
Oh, I mean, like last week we had a guy who was a survivor of sexual assault and abuse, but didn't start till he was 30.
Oh, wow.
Which is something you don't really think about.
Yeah. No, it's always, you imagine it being a kid or somebody young, particularly women or young girls. Yeah. For sure.
And when you learn that he set the whole thing up, really, without meaning to, it was like another revelation that, it's stuff we don't think about.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was really good. Just as, this is really good. I think a lot of people hopefully are going to get their eyes open to, I don't have to take this and this and this. I can also do this and this.
Well, and not only that, but I think one of the cores of what we're doing is trying to break down the Instagram perfection. We don't ever want someone to come away from our show going, oh God, I wish I had it as together as those guys. If anything, I hope somebody comes away going, got them beat. Wow.
Yep.
Because it's tough. I mean, all this stuff, mental health, physical health, when we're, surrounded by food that is not meant for human consumption and is
like Doritos.
Did we just lose audio?
We lost audio on Jeremy.
Yeah, we lost audio on Jeremy.
Am I back now?
Oh, you're back now.
Oh, but something's gone wacky. Zach will take it from there while I fix my microphone.
But hey, you know what? I'm sure what you said was very inspirational.
Probably.
Yeah. So Zach, you said near New York City, right?
Yeah, I'm about 2 hours north of New York City.
So are you in a very kind of rural area that's, out away from that, or do you still have, a bit of population around you?
So I live in Albany, which is the capital of New York, but we very specifically chose our house. We can take a left out of our development and go into Albany, and we have all the conveniences of the city. But if we take a right out of our development, a mile down the road is farmland. So we are on the very edge of Albany, and it's a really nice mix. So we can go hang out in the country, or we can, go to Target if we absolutely have to.
Yeah, and I guess it's just the opposite for me. If I take a left out of my driveway, I'm at Two Lakes, or out of my development. If I turn right, I'm going into a town of 20,000 people.
Yeah, it's really, for me anyway. Like, I had to find my inspirational people in the city. Like, it's really hard to find people in a rural area that are going to be inspiring for you. So it's actually a conversation my wife and I have a lot, because she wants to go further into the country, and I keep arguing with her, but my people are in the city, and I need to be around them, and I will drive for over an hour to go, be with my inspiring people, but I don't want to do that if I don't have to.
Yeah, and that's what I have to do. Is I'm in a town of 4,000 people, near a town of 15 to 20, and about an hour away from 175,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So, I can go a little bit. I can go a little bit farther, and if I really want to go big time, I've got 3 hours to go to Kansas City or St. Louis. But you got to find that mix that's right for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think if there's anything good that came out of the pandemic, this whole like virtual meetings, right? Like, these are normal now. So I've been connecting with people all over the country, and being inspired by people in, sitting in my basement while somebody's on the West Coast. So it's actually really nice that we're normalizing like these virtual meetings a little bit more, as much as I don't like them because I'm on them all day long for work. I do enjoy them with people I choose to be on.
Yeah. And you and Jeremy are on opposite coasts.
Yep.
Opposite coasts and different countries now.
Yeah. Hey.
Exactly.
Hey, by the way, I was going to tell you, please stop and have a double at Tim Hortons for me when you're done.
I've been here for 2 months and I have not yet been to Timmy's. I got to swing by and go to Timmy's for the first time.
You probably shouldn't say that on the air, because if somebody in Canada hears you,
that
might be an arrestable offense.
Yeah, my permanent residence hasn't been accepted yet, so maybe that's the thing holding me back.
Okay, there you go. Okay. You're okay, so you're still a tourist technically.
Yeah, I'm still just a visitor.
Okay. Yeah, there's something about that coffee. Am I right, Zach?
I haven't had it myself, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In Buffalo, we had quite a few of them. So.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, I don't think there's any here that I can think of.
Huh. Interesting. Funny. All right. Well, so Zach, what do you recommend for people that are not really that into physical fitness and taking care of themselves? If they're listening to this and going, you know what, that actually sounds, like a good idea. Maybe I should start to do something. I mean, it doesn't have to be hard, does it?
No, it doesn't. It needs to be something that you can do, on a consistent basis. So
taking your dog out for a walk a couple times a day.
You can, going for a walk. If you've never really done anything, that might be difficult for you. So, but choosing something that you can do consistently is really key. So, I like to go to CrossFit. If you haven't worked out ever and you decide I'm going to go to CrossFit 3 times a week, your very first CrossFit session is going to destroy you.
Yeah.
You'll never go back. So something that you can do consistently all the time. And I would say the other thing is find a coach, find somebody who can help you, who can, help you be accountable, who can, help you do the right things. So even, I've done a lot of study on exercise and how to do things appropriately. But whenever I go work out, I'm always being corrected on my form, doing things that could potentially hurt me. So that would be my 2 recommendations. Find something that you can do every day that's hard, but not completely out of your realm of possibility. and find somebody who can help you be accountable, can correct your form, keep you safe, and keep you going back to it.
Yeah, well, we've got a comment here. That people do underestimate the importance of friends. And people that can keep you accountable. I mean, Jeremy, how important is that in your life?
I'm learning it's very important. I just moved from Seattle, where I spent my entire life, grew up in that area. My parents are there. Everyone I've ever known is there. Everyone I've ever worked with is there. And now I'm in the mountains in the middle of nowhere, where I know nobody, in a country where I know nobody. And I'm at least an hour away from my closest friend, geographically. So that's been a huge challenge. There's definitely been moments of some pretty desperate loneliness where I just feel like maybe I've made a huge mistake. I've left everything I've ever known, and what am I doing? I mean, when there's that much quiet, there's lots of room for self-doubt. But the beauty of that much quiet and that much time is that you can spend time with it and get curious about it. And I'm learning that the isolation is and can be pretty beautiful, because that's when you can really do some of the deepest work. You can really just be with yourself and make that time for yourself to figure out why do I need the validation of someone else? Why do I need the company of someone else to feel whole, or to feel loved, or to feel whatever? Why am I not enough? And so it just opens a lot of doors to start thinking about those things. And it forces me to go outside, because if I just sit in my house and dwell on those thoughts, it's too much. And so I can go outside and I can start moving my body and start moving that energy. And a lot of it that moves is the toxic stuff. It's the stuff that says, you're better off. Nobody wants you around, because I know that stuff's not true.
Right.
And usually what happens is, after I've done something physical, what's left is the truth. What's left is, I've connected with nature. I've enjoyed myself. This has been a good time. This is something that I hope someone will come and do with me when the borders open, or they're able to. Yeah. And it just leaves all the negativity on the shore, or at the front door, or wherever it is that I've left.
Yeah. Jason, I want to get your opinion on this too, but I don't know that it's so much that we need validation in the traditional sense, but I think, Jeremy, it's nice to know that somebody says, yeah, you're on the right path.
Or it's just nice to know somebody gives a shit, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's part of having those positive people in your life too. Having those people saying, "Yeah, you're doing good," or telling you when you're falling short. Having those people that versus somebody who's toxic, who will just tell you the negative all the time, how you're screwing up, how you're a bad person, this and that. Those are the kind of people I try and cut out of my life. So I do try and get those people in there that validate, saying, yeah, you are doing pretty good. You are holding in there, and towing the line, and you're doing what you can do. And it's very important in my life.
Yeah.
I used to joke years ago that, hey, I can go home and get the negative. I mean, that's easy to get. I want to hear something positive for once.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, I don't need other people telling me what I already know inside on the negative side.
Mm-hmm. But, I think that's one thing that's important. You were saying, Jeremy, about, it's good to be, out kind of away from people in a way, but it's also not, that it's really up to us how we perceive a lot of these things, and the narrative that we tell ourselves.
100%. I mean, so much of what I've learned on this journey in this last decade or whatever is that so much of my reality is my perception and the way that I approach the world. And I try and engage on Facebook groups where maybe I can help people with some of the things that I've learned. And there's tons of people that they're not there yet. They're not ready to hear there's another way. It's a mind shift, a mindset shift. It's something simple that you need to find a way to open that door. And, honestly, when I'm depressed, that's the last thing I want to hear too is, oh, just feel better. You'll do all right. Buck up, little camper. It's going to be fine. Like,
yeah.
But so much of it is just trying to find a way to look at the good and to be grateful for what you have, because a lot of, I think there's a lot to learn from gratitude, and there's a lot that can come from it, and being appreciating what you have, because I think it just sort of shifts your mindset and opens you up to the possibility of more and really getting a lot more out of life, rather than just constantly focusing on the 3 or 4 things that went bad today. Mm-hmm. When the 300 or 400 things went right, you didn't crash your car. You woke up today. That's a pretty good thing. Like, there's a lot of little things that go right every day that we just take for granted. And then, when we're slowed down by a traffic light or somebody cut you off, that thing just haunts you for the rest of the day. And it's just it's just a mindset shift where you have to sort of reframe your reality and be open to the positive.
Yeah, I just know in my own life that it's a lot of work to let things go, especially when the little things.
Yeah.
And it's taken a lot of work for me to learn how to do that. Now, I'm not always successful on it.
No.
But
nobody is.
8 times out of 10, I'm able to let things go that happen that are negative impact on my life, whether it is waking up late or getting cut off in traffic, or because I can, with my mental illness.
Jason, we live in a place where there is no traffic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
My neighbors across the street, so they were caught in traffic the other day. I said, "How fast were you going?" They said, "Well, we slowed down to 40." I grew up in LA. I know traffic.
Yes.
I live in San Diego. I mean, it was an hour and 45-minute commute.
Okay, San Diego, good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been in traffic.
He's still hanging on to that one time that guy cut him off.
Yeah.
2 years ago in San Diego.
That's the thing about it is you do well with that. With my particular illness is ruminations is very bad, and so it's taken a lot of work on myself to learn some techniques, to breathing techniques and clearing my mind and focusing on redirecting my thoughts to other things, to let go of those little things that happen that really don't mean shit, in the larger scale of things.
Yep. And I would add one thing that I found has changed my life completely is whenever those things happen to me, I always ask myself, can I change this? Can I do anything about it? And if the answer is no, it's got to go. Right. If I can change it, well, then, we can dwell on it. We can go do what we need to do. But if somebody cut you off, can you change that? No, it happened. It's done. It's over.
And to add to that, what can you do about it? You can try and get revenge. You can get mad. You can honk your horn. You can do all these things that aren't going to make any difference. They might help you blow off some steam, but it's in an unhealthy way.
Once your rigor's gone down, what else can you do, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you got to just let that stuff go for sure.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So Jeremy, I mean, realizing again that not everything works for everybody.
Yeah.
We'll have to try and fail and succeed. I mean, when you've got those negative thoughts and things coming in, what works for you?
That's a tough one. Sometimes nothing.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's absolutely nothing.
That was actually the answer I was looking for.
My wife will do everything she can to possibly, she'll make dinner, take care of the kids, tell me, take the time, whatever you need. Like if you need to go pre-COVID, if you need to go to a movie, go to a movie. If you need to just peace out, whatever, just go. But even that, I'm like, but then I'm taking care of myself and I don't deserve that. And that's, that's not fair. I got to show up. I got to be a dad. I got to be a husband. All these messages of what I got to do will take over. And so then that it's really hard to accept that help because a lot of times it's like a self-punishment. It's this, you don't deserve to get out of this. And sometimes it's, my therapist always used to say, you play the songs, when you sit down at the piano, the one song you learned in high school, that's the one you're going to play because you don't know anything else. And so when you've spent so many years and so much time being depressed, when it takes over, you're like, oh, I know this. This is a nice, warm, comfy blanket. I know how to do this. And then eventually it just takes over. And it's not a matter of taking the blanket off and just going, oh, there's a way to get out of this. It just feels like, well, this is just where I live now. So it's 98% prevention. It's keeping it away. And then, as I mentioned earlier, it's when the illness flares up, sometimes you have to just ride it out. Sometimes that's an hour, sometimes that's a week. But I'll throw everything at it. When I have the energy and I can overcome the voices, I will, I'll try and do some breath work. I'll try and do some meditation. I will just get out and move, whether it's just going for a walk or trying to run it out, or like I said, going for a kayak or something. Sometimes it is just, I think movies are great. Just some show, something to just shift your mind away from all the thoughts that are telling you you're worthless and terrible and nobody loves you and all that. And if you can just shift into some, Pixar movie where, there's nothing but love and happiness, it's enough of a distraction to just sort of flip that switch. I used to find that when I went to work in an office, I would have a rough weekend, and just the change of environment, like being forced to go to work, would be enough to get my mind reset. I wouldn't say it fixed it, but just sort of redirecting that energy would help me get out of it. And I think that, had to be a frustration for my family, because I'd be all depressed all weekend, and then I'd go to work and I'd come home and, oh, magically you're better after going to that horrible job you hate. Like,
yeah.
So there's a lot of confusion when you're trying to navigate this and trying to do it in a healthy way. And especially like you're saying, like when you're trying to get out of it and every part of your body saying, no, you don't deserve to, or this is better than anything else. That's tough to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jason, you were talking earlier about, not listening to death metal, because it'll put some thoughts in your mind. But I've actually found sometimes that when I get kind of in that rut, that sometimes you just crank up some loud music, it'll almost kind of help reboot your brain.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. See, Zach knows what I'm
You're speaking Zach's language right now.
That is my thing. If I'm in a like a weird place, I actually get in my car and put on like heavy metal really loud and drive around, and it just unlocks something for me where I get out of the car and I'm ready to go. So, again, different things work for different people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I found Foo Fighters at a 10.
There you go.
A half hour works really good.
There you go.
My go-to is Metallica, personally.
Oh, hey.
5-finger death punch.
Love Metallica. Yeah. So, Jason, what do you kind of do to help get out of those ruts when you get into them?
Well, first thing I try and do is change my environment. Even if it means getting out of the bedroom that I'm sitting in and going into a different room. Or better yet, going out on the porch where I got really great sun exposure and I can get some sunlight. But that's the number one thing I try and do, is change my environment right away. That's my first go-to. And then my second go-to is then also, positive influence coming in, whether it's music, whether it's YouTube videos of, motivational stuff, or movies, or something that's going to lift me up. Those things help derail and kind of short circuit, the loop that I'm going through in my head. I mean, and like what Loot the Body has said, sometimes you can't avoid it. Sometimes you just need to let it happen, let it wash over you, and then pick yourself up afterwards. So sometimes there are those times when I can't. Those things just don't work, and I'm just going to have to sit it out and let it happen.
Yep.
Zach, I want to hear your thoughts on this, because it's a good comment. Sometimes we need a good cry, and the traditional viewpoint is, well, men don't cry.
Yeah, I have a lot of good cries all the time. I am, I was raised to not show the emotion, to not cry, to if you're hurt, you get up, you rub some dirt on it, you keep going. Both physically and mentally. And it took me until probably like mid 30s before I had like my first real good cry. And now it's like my once a week go-to. Like anything will set me off. Like I think I told this story to Jeremy once. I am a huge Star Trek fan. Love Star Trek. And my daughter goes against that, right? Because I love Star Trek, she's got to hate it. And I love it so much. Yeah, but one day she realized that one of the series had a female captain, and she was like, "Oh, a girl captain. I'm interested. I want to watch that. I want to see it." And we sat down and we started watching Star Trek, and she's like, "Can we watch another one? Can we watch another one?" And I'm not kidding. Like, my love of Star Trek and the fact that my daughter was watching it set me into tears.
Yeah.
From both just a huge emotional release of, oh my God, she loves something that I love, because that doesn't usually happen. But I wasn't afraid to do it. Like, I cried in front of her. She's like, "Why are you crying?" I was like, "Because you're watching Star Trek." And I've been trying to set the example that that's okay for her. It's okay for guys. But yeah, a good cry can help you out of a place. Like, sometimes you just need to release it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll get so emotionally wound up that anything will set me off. I mean, those freaking ASPCA commercials with the depressing
yeah, but they're meant to. They're meant to.
The death of
That's why they play Sarah McLachlan in the background.
I was going to say, damn you, Sarah McLachlan.
Yeah, but a lot of times those things will catch me off guard too. Sometimes I won't expect it, and that's when it kind of really frustrates me. It's not not the crying part, but being caught off guard about it sometimes, especially when it's a very inconvenient time for it to happen, like in public or something.
Right.
Yeah.
You're at a Super Bowl party. All of a sudden there's dogs in cages and you're just weeping.
Yeah. Exactly.
I have found too that like the times when I get surprised by that myself, that's the moment where I need to stop for a couple of minutes and just look inside and be like, wait a minute, was it really the commercial? Like what's going on? Because half of the time I've got some emotional bubble that's building and building and building, and it's in my blind spot and I don't see it. And then a dog commercial sets me off.
Yeah.
So I do try and take some time and figure out what it is. I'm not always successful, but sometimes it's just under the surface and you don't even know what it is that's getting you.
Well, and sometimes you can bring it out, and you were talking about tips and ways to combat some of this stuff. And Zach, I mean, Zach's the yoga master here between the two of us, and I dabble in it, but it is a very spiritual, emotional practice for me when I do it. A lot of times, when I honestly can't remember the last time I did yoga and didn't at some point shed tears. Not necessarily a full-on weep, but just something gets unlocked just through that movement.
Was it because of pulled muscle or something else?
Well, sometimes it just hurts. There is that. There's some truth to that. But the great thing about yoga is you can start really simply, with some really basic, easy moves to ease into it, and as your body gets more flexible, so does your mind, and so does your spirit. And I think that a lot of that stuff opens up, and that allows you to maybe have a little bit more of a controlled emotional experience when you go into it knowing this is what I'm going for, this is my intention. Then that can be really helpful. But when you sit down to watch the Super Bowl, you're not expecting to cry in the middle of an ASPCA commercial. So
unless your team loses,
which has happened more often.
Yeah, and my daughter accused me of crying in the theater during the Hannah Montana movie, and I had to remind her, no, I'm wearing earbuds and listening to music. I was not crying at Hannah Montana. I really kind of forgot that was on.
You were somewhere else.
Oh, I was way somewhere else.
Okay.
You're sideways, Jason.
My camera. Yes.
There you go. No. Oh, yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, I lost internet connection for a second.
That's all right.
Okay, so now we need to hear a Jason crying story.
You already heard about the dog one.
I think that's why he turned the camera off. I think we were making him cry.
There you go. Yeah. I've actually had that Sarah McLachlan commercial. I'll look at my dog and say, you can go back there. I'm going to get one of those and then take you back. Although my dog was actually found at 6 months old in a garbage bag in a dumpster.
Oh, get out of here.
But he's an actual Sarah McLachlan kind of dog.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Jason and I both have service dogs from this place in Missouri here that takes rescues and turns them into autism service dogs and service dogs for vets with PTSD.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, it really is awesome.
Yeah. And they prefer particular breeds too, like pit bulls and stuff like that normally get overlooked or shunned upon because the stigma.
Boxers and labs and
so a lot of these times, like my particular service dog was 3 days away from being euthanized.
2 days. I got a phone call because I do some work with the group, and they called me and said we have this dog here that's going to be euthanized in 2 days just because she's a pit bull.
Wow.
So I went and checked her out and got her to the place, and then trained her to a year later to be Jason's service dog.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So we talked about fitness, and Zach, we're being told you're the guru on this stuff.
Well, Jeremy thinks I am.
See how I redirected that, Zach?
Yeah.
So, Zach, how does nutrition kind of fit into this? I mean, we don't have to go to the point where we're counting every calorie and carb, but we also don't want to just grab a bag of Doritos and sit on the couch.
Yeah, I mean, I've spent so much time trying all the different diets and counting calories. You can count calories, but the quality of those calories is really what's going to make the difference, right? I mean, you could eat a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream and it has 1,500 calories in it. And if that's all you eat for the day, you've met your, calorie requirements.
Yeah.
But it's garbage food. So, making sure that what calories you are putting in your body are quality, like full of nutrients from the outsides of the outside realms of the grocery store, right? Nothing in the middle. All the processed foods are full of things that you can't pronounce, that, are, a lot of them are literally there to keep you hooked and keep you unhealthy and keep you in this
Yeah.
state where you're going to be constantly spinning. So,
Yeah.
counting calories, if it works for you, great.
Well, but if you do it the right way, I mean, like, yes, I count calories, but not to a certain, I've got to stay under this number. It's just more that I'm aware of how many calories I'm putting in my body in a day. And like you said, it's what it is too.
Yeah.
I could do a bowl of spaghetti and meet over half my, calories for the day, but I could also eat 6 protein bars.
Yep.
Right.
Which are really easy to eat and really convenient.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We
and I know
talked
because of my medication, I have no appetite. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
eat most of the time. And so like protein bars, energy shakes, those protein things have been a great thing for me for that, so that I do get my calories in. My problem is not getting too many calories, is that I'm not getting enough in sometimes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. I would say too that, eating to get your nutrients is hard to do. I mean, everyone always recommends, you don't need to take vitamins, you don't need to take supplements if you just eat right. But I would actually argue that not all of us have that fortitude to eat right all the time, or to eat all the things that we need for our bodies. So like supplements can help, like just taking a multivitamin.
Sure.
Some people say it's expensive pee. I personally think that eating somewhat healthy and taking the supplement is just covering all of my bases.
It's what works for everybody, because, your diet may not work for me. Jeremy's diet may not work for Jason, but we got to find what's right for us. And if yours is a balance of eating mostly healthy and taking some supplements, that's what works for you.
One of our recent guests said something really smart, and he said it was something to the effect of, you don't have to count calories, but calories do count.
Yes.
And when you consider, like Zach said, a pint of ice cream, great. Maybe you only need to eat 1,500 calories a day, but in an hour you're starving, you've sugar crashed, so you're miserable. Your body is starved of nutrition. And so it's going to then slow down even burning metabolism. So if you do have a bunch of weight to lose and you think, well, I'm just going to hit this calorie number. Well, when your body is nutritionally starved, it's going to slow down burning metabolism too.
Yeah.
So you're not going to lose weight simply by cutting out calories. That's not going to do it.
Right.
So like Zach said, stay away from the middle of the store. And somebody said something once too, their long-term goal for diet was to only eat things that they grew or killed themselves. And I thought that was really interesting. Like I don't eat meat, so I don't relate to the second.
Like somebody from Missouri.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting way to look at it. Is that, if it didn't grow out of the ground that way and didn't need some mild, cooking or whatever, you probably shouldn't eat it. If it wasn't walking around at one point and having a grass-fed regenerative diet, probably shouldn't eat it.
Yeah.
And if you sort of start with that as a foundation, you can sort of build from there.
Yeah, going back to Zach's, example of the pint of Ben and Jerry's. Yeah, you're at your calories for the day, but you're also probably at 400% of your sugar for the day.
Yep.
And depending on, if you eat something different, like a bunch of Doritos, well, yeah, you may be at your calories, but you're also probably 3 times your sodium for the day too.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
So it's not just calories, it's not just carbs. Just look at all the other factors that go into food as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And just one more thing on it too. I think back to my comment of like, get a coach, find someone who can help you. Unfortunately, like eating the things that are right for you is hard to do. So finding somebody who can help you figure out what those things are, keeping you accountable, is really useful in a lot of scenarios, because I know for me, of the 8 to 10 times in my life that I've consistently stuck with eating the way that works for me, there's about 300-400 times where I failed and I ate the wrong thing and it didn't work for my body, or I gave up and I didn't have accountability. So finding someone who can help you, having a coach in all of this is really critical. I guess I'll even expand it even further. Mental health, physical health, nutritional health, all of it. You don't have to do it alone.
No.
You can get help, and I highly recommend that you do.
And I would recommend try and fail. If you get a coach and that coach is telling you to eat things that go against what you believe, if you're a vegetarian, like, well, you just absolutely have to eat meat. They're not right.
No.
They're right for them. They're right in some circumstances. They're not right for you. If you have a mental health counselor, therapist, whatever, that's, going against things that you intuitively know are wrong, that's not the right therapist for you.
Or that at least are wrong for you.
That's what I mean. If it's not a good fit for you, it's okay to move on. It's okay to try someone else and try. And same, I mean, for people that have used drugs for mental health issues, antidepressants, whatever. I know that's a long road, a long battle for a lot of people, that you have to try and fail and try and fail and try and fail. But failing is where the growth happens. That's where the education happens. And so don't ever be afraid to stop what you're doing and try something else if it's not working.
No, and Zach, the other thing I kind of found too with it on the nutrition end of it is allow yourself to have those days where you just go out with your friends and have pizza and beer.
Yeah.
And don't worry about it.
Yeah. I always say, when it comes to nutrition, 80-20 is what I follow.
Yeah.
If I'm doing the right things 80% of the time, I can do the things that bring me great joy and pleasure, like Ben and Jerry's ice cream, 20% of the time. And there's a balance to it. If you go 100% in on, eating healthy, being, eating the right things all the time, for me personally, I become a miserable person.
Yeah.
I really do. I love food. I work out and I exercise partially because I love food so much, and I love eating, a lot of calories. You have to have those days. So I typically, and I don't always follow this, but I usually save like all of that 20% for one day in the week. Yeah. So the 6 other days, when I get that craving, when I get that urge for some ice cream or a candy bar or something like that, I just kind of mentally put it on my list of like, that's what you're having for breakfast on Saturday.
Yeah.
Right. And then I have that, I can look forward to it, and I know I'm going to have it, and I just delay it a little bit.
I try and do something similar where I basically look at the weekends as a way to sort of let the guard down a little bit, just because during the week there's so much more structure. The kids go to school, you have things to do, like you have an agenda, and it's a little bit easier to fit in the goals you have for yourself into your agenda where there's a routine and things are built in. But when you get to the weekend and all of a sudden the calendar is open and it's, fair game to do whatever, it's a little bit tougher to fit in those routines and dumping all the weird stuff you dump into your yogurt that you eat every single day that your kids go, that looks disgusting. Yeah. Like, they're not going to want to sit there and watch me eat that on Saturday. So we're making pancakes, and that's all right. It's Saturday.
Yeah.
That's how we're going to do it.
For me, I've got a daughter that's now an adult and married and living out of the house. So what I'll do is I won't necessarily save them for the weekends, but on the days or the nights that I'm going to go out with a woman I'm dating. Right. So if it's a Saturday night, I'm going to be home and just hanging out by myself. Yeah, I'll have the chicken and I'll have the vegetables and stuff like that. But, Sunday, hey, if it's football day, we're going to go watch, football games in a sports bar. Mm-hmm. That's my day to do the wings and the beer.
Yeah. Not usually a lot of tofu on the menu at the sports bar.
Not that I found. Not even in California when I lived there.
They might even ask you. They might even ask you to leave if you ask for it.
In Missouri, they definitely would. Definitely would.
The Ozarks.
Yeah. So, I guess we just got a few minutes left. So, well, first off, let's talk more about the podcast.
Yeah.
Where can people find the podcast, and what do you guys talk about mostly?
We talk a lot about this, just the challenges, the struggles, the things that make it difficult to live a healthy and well-balanced life. We do that every week. New episodes every Wednesday. You can get them at thefitmess.com. And we're on all social media platforms at Fitmess Guys. We're actually going to be opening a new Facebook group very soon for some accountability challenges. The month of October, we're going to start off with a meditation challenge, just trying to get everybody everybody that's going to be invited to the group. We'll just ask them to try and meditate for 5 minutes. What do we say? 3 to 4 times a week?
3 to 4 times a week. Yeah.
Just to sort of get familiar with it. We're going to offer a bunch. We have some coupon codes and some free apps that we're going to offer up for ways to introduce people to it. And it's totally self-paced. We're not going to be coaching anybody, but we will offer live interaction for people that want to kind of connect and ask questions about what's worked for us and what hasn't.
And it's the whole accountability thing with that group too, probably, right?
That's the primary thing, is just to have a place to vent, to share your struggle, and to try and learn and grow in this together.
It's important to share the successes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Jeremy, please give me that info when it does come and get going because I'd like to join that group.
Oh, sounds great. Yeah, definitely. We'll do that.
Yep. Jason, you have any questions before we get out of here?
Nope. I think that's about it. We covered just about everything I could think of.
All right. Well, hey guys, I definitely appreciate it. And for those listening, and when we put this into an audio podcast, it's not Fitness with an N, Fitmess with an M.
Yes.
Because we're all fit messes, right?
That's right. It's all messy.
And some of us were not fit messes. We're unfit messes. All right. Well, Jack and Jeremy, thanks for taking the hour and joining us. And everybody else, we will be back next Tuesday. So catch you then.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.